dun, dun, dun. Bum, 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 bum. All right. What's going on? Andre, como? What's up, Mr. Hall? Dude, Mr. Hall, did they let you even near schools in with these shirtless photos you got going on? This is amazing. So you've committed. You don't know many Indian people. Look at these tats. This is amazing. Mr. Johnson, what's going on? All right, let's get to work. All right. Hey guys, word to the wise. Today's probably will be some semi garbaggio. So try not to get too dipsy do dunkaroo today. My guess is it's going to be garbaggio. There will be some random small bombers that take off, but I don't think you're going to get like all this kind of heat. And the main reason is the market's like getting really, really long in the tooth. So if you look at like pretty much your overall watch list of different names, everything is extended. So you don't have really you're getting too far from your bases, and so we really need a little bit of a pullback. So we'll kind of keep that into the back of our heads too. Don't be pushing your chips in today. Hey, Mr. Hall, good job yesterday. I think that was your biggest day in a few months. Andre, what do you want to do with this sock? So you keep putting on your list every day, but you don't tell me what you want to do with it. Cold, what do you want to do with that? Arm, junk, AVGO, double junk. What do you want to do with those? Are they shorts, longs? I can't tell. Birdman, what up, baby? Mr. Finn, how you doing? All right, let's get to work. Guys, we got a 0.35% gap up in the market. I wouldn't read too much into it. It's just inside the fluctuation of yesterday. So we've got ourselves basically some ranges now that we'll have to trade around. We're in a little bit of a box here. We have our 9 a.m. and the daily, and then we have this old gap fill spot over here that's a big level. We peaked out of it for a hot second yesterday and then rolled right back into the range. So I don't know if there's really we're kind of right in a weird sweet spot. And then the IWM is super extended. You had 6 up days in a row, and you really had one of the bigger runs like you've seen in the market in some time, right? So like if you look at, stocks that you may have been trading, I mean, they're all so extended off their bases, right? So if you have like these kind of names, I mean, they've just gone nuts. And so now you have a weird sweet spot where the market is probably too strong to short, but it's like everything is way too extended to necessarily long, especially on your mid cap, small cap names. And so now you're getting this kind of you're going to get a little bit of fluctuation. You can see, right, even like things like Mara, which is like a huge slut. You went from 17 to 30, so you got about 50% move on this thing, and you're right back smack right inside the range again. So you're starting to see a little bit of deflation coming in from these hot names. And what happens, from those of you guys that study trading, right? When when you have something go so parabolic, how long does it take before you even out, right? They typically, right, you end up going sideways often for months. Like if you see even MSTR, right, when it broke the 200, I mean, it had been in a base for a damn year almost, right? You're talking about from March to October, so a good chunk of the year. And then it does those things. So now you have this kind of move here. Well, what do you think is going to happen? It's got to pull back or it's got to base out for a long period of time. Even in the past, right? If you see when it went from 100 to 200, well, it went sideways for years, right? And then it went from 100 to 200. And now it's got stuck at 200 and it went sideways for 8 months and then it exploded. And so when you think about like your trades, that's why, when the market gets hot, I keep telling you not to miss opportunity because when you have these kind of bases and then you come out of them, the only subsequent move can be, right, longer periods of sideways movement where you're really just digesting, all of this kind of really digesting all of this kind of action. And there's just every stock you're probably been trading is, done this kind of move, right? And so now there's two things that will happen. Number one is that, a lot of these names will have to go sideways for months and months and months to maybe even longer. And a new set of stocks will at some point start to avail themselves, right? We haven't seen any signs of them yet, but at some point you'll start to see some new stocks show up, right? Even like these things like Oklo, right? This thing was at $4 or $5. So, when you get to $27, $28, it's not like it happened over the course of, 2-3 years, but it happened over the course of 60 days. So if you go from 5 to 30 in 60 days, how much basing are you going to need to digest that move? Significant amounts, and if you look at, right, something like this NNE, right, very similar, is at $6, now you go to 34 in a couple months, like you're going to need a period of digestion. And we're starting to see maybe some signs of that, right? Like this SMAR was $2 in January. Now it's at $30, right? And so you've already come up $2.30, 15x. So now, like, you start to come in, how much sideways movement? Well, when it went from $2 to $15, it still went sideways, right? And digested all of that for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, right? And so now, and then you had the subsequent move. So now we're into that phase where a lot of these stocks are going to be probably doing that sideways action as it digests some of this. And then we may see some, secondary plays come in. So like if your watch list is like Coin and MSTR and you think those are the hot ones, right? They might be tradable, but they've also had probably a good chunk of, right, a good chunk of their moves. This is up hundreds of percent in a handful of days, right? This is up, right, hundreds of percent in a handful of days. That's probably, is this a long or a short now? I don't know. Fuck, right? Could be both, could be none, but I think the easy money is over. And when the EMAs start to roll over like that, you have to kind of keep that into the back of your head. So this is the time to be more cautious. There's times to kind of stack some things, and then there's time to just scalp around and, make income and so on and so forth. So the stacking phase may be over in a lot of names till we start to find whatever the new hot names are, the new hot themes are, and then you'll start to kind of build upon that. So just be mindful as these things start to kind of deflate that you're not trading them the way that you would when the EMAs are going up and it's in kind of round 1 or round 2 of its move, right? Once you're into round 4, round 5, round 6, then you're the last man to the gangbang. And that's not a good place to be. Number 1, number 2, maybe even number 3 if you've come out of prison. But anything else is nasty, right? Anything else is nasty. Unless there's a lot of hot chicks, then maybe you're number 4, right? But, but it's fraught with danger. See, every round, every extra, right? Your danger goes up exponentially. And the same thing will happen with your trading. When you're in round 1, round 2, round 3 of a move, like you have a inherent base and your MAs are up And so you have this kind of protection. But now that you're up so much, you're getting in a little bit late to the party. So let's keep it up. So you can keep trading these. The range on these is going to be huge still, but it becomes a little bit harder because you don't know. We don't know if it's a long or short anymore. And so without that, I think things become a little bit more tricky. And then if you look at, you take all of this out of the equation, right? Look at how many of these stocks, right? Look at how many of these stocks are so extended. So you take some of these out of the equation, well, we got to find the new ones, right? And we don't have that inkling in. Then if you look at some of the larger names, you get old NVIDIA here, right? It's sitting on its 50-day moving average, but it's kind of been topped out for a long period of time too, right? So when you get this is where you stack, and this is where you stack, and now you're right stuck inside a range. And it's kind of like, what do you do with this thing, right? This, like, if you didn't know this was NVIDIA and you just looked at it like this, like, you would say this is not really a healthy looking name. It's not really anything. It's not bearish or bullish. It's just something that's it's just there, right? And if you look at, right, AMD is like, is this bearish or bullish? It's probably more bearish than bullish, but not really anything anyway, right? Like AVGO, like, what do you do with this, right? So you're stuck in this big range. Now you're kind of like, is that a bear flag? Is that a rounding? Fuck if I know, right? It's probably neither. And so if you can't name it, right, if you can't sit there and say like what the setup is, what the pattern is, what the game plan is, then it's probably a leave alone. You could make it a read and react kind of thing, but read and react where, right? AVGO has this level here, but these levels here, when a stock is near highs, right? When a stock is near the breakout, and then you have a level like this and it breaks out, there's no supply on it. And so it works out. But like if you're just looking at this over here on the right and it breaks out, but then you look left and you're like, oh, fuck, there's all this, right, resistance on top. It gets a little bit more tricky. And so that's where you want to be really, really mindful of the location. If you try momentum strategies on stocks that don't have momentum, then you will not have an alignment of multiple time frames. You won't have an alignment of ideas. You won't have an alignment of trends. And so now you'll have haphazard results because you're using a short-term momentum strategy on something that on a long-term basis has no momentum, and on a mid-term basis also has no momentum, right? So, right, if you look at its MAs, flat, 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 what do you do? So can you use a momentum-based trend trading strategy on that, right? So if you look here, right, what are your MAs doing on NVIDIA? Flat, flat, down, flat, down. There's something you just can't right? You just can't figure it out. There's something off about it. So that's all. You want to make sure that you're in the right names now, and you keep hunting around for different ones. So while the markets are kind of coalescing here and marinating this gain, especially the IWM, it's going to probably break out the highs here, right? And it's already testing it. And it got rejected a little bit, but it only take a couple days to just digest. It'll take a couple days to just digest. Let these EMAs pop back through, right? And then we'll see, right, who the last man, who's standing on it, right? And there are still some names that are close to their bases, but you just have to kind of rotate into them. So let's start digging into the PR plays, and then let's see what we can do here. Toyo. So normally small caps stink. They always stink. But on Turkey Week, they tend to often be the best spot. They often are good spots to kind of roll into some names. So Turkey Week is always the time for these kind of random names to go. So like you saw, like all these quantum computing stocks go yesterday. You'll see all these kind of PR plays go because there's not that many big players. They're all gone, right? So it's just the degenerate day traders that are out there. So you're starting to see right? Some of these kind of things. So if you want to trade some small caps, like this is probably something right up your alley. Xena the Warrior, look at this bad boy. This is like, you normally you don't want to trade these kind of names, but when it's so linear and smooth like this, you 100% can. You start to see this thing break out and right, it's just kind of dipping and popping and dipping. Like you can do that. You can trade this thing. This is that's pretty hot, right? And so you can add a couple of these names to your watch list if you want. It's not my particular flavor, but you're going to have a lot of range on these things. SMTK Junk. Look at this ARWR. So this is an old biotech name. It's been a slip for as long as I can remember, but we got PR on this bad boy here. Let's take a look and see what it is. ARWR 21% global license collaboration agreement with Sarepta Therapeutics. You could probably roll with something like that. The issue on this is it's getting rejected by the 20-day moving average, but if it gets over it, you've got a chance. And you only got about 100 million share float on this. So the float on this is tiny enough where you can, right, get some movement. Not bad. Let's add this to the watch list. It's not bad. Let's add this bad boy. Hey, UAVS. This is another one. I put this on the blog last night. This is the type of play that usually will go during Thanksgiving. This is the type of play that'll usually go during Thanksgiving because it's just like a beaten down name, and you've got yourself right, like kind of a little bit of a base. It's a big turd. It really is a smelly piece of excrement, but the big hairy Indian butt of this is that if you can push out and hold this, right, you've got all this upside. And frankly, the smallest bit of volume will take this thing wherever it's got to take. So you got yourself a little bit of fun on this. I'd keep it. Like I think there's probably a little something on this one. SMTC. So look, this one, it's a semiconductor stock. It had earnings out. You're starting to clear a lot of levels on the left. I think this is probably something right up our alley that we can trade. This is right up our alley on something we can trade. I keep this on the watch list. Let's see if this thing ORBs or sets up. It might trade a little bit thin in volume. Like right now, it's only got 100,000 shares in the pre-market. It's been trading okay from, if you look at the post-market action too, it's trading okay. Yeah, you can see it's got a decent little range on it. I like it. Randall, what's up, baby? How you doing? Look at this HSAI, right? You got a nice little push on this bad boy. Yeah, you can roll with this. This is the day to do these things. The next couple days and Friday too. We got Maxon over here. Look at that. I think, you know what? I had some solar stocks show up on my watch list too. So you can definitely add a couple of those bad boys. Samurai, what you watching, baby? AVXN. Look at this. Dick's Sporting Goods. Dude, you got a breakout here at 240. And you got a pretty big base on this thing. You got a level to trade around on here. You got 240 breakout, 67 million share float. That's got yourself. It will trade a little bit thin in volume, but it's going to have probably really good range today. I would keep this on the watch list. Yeah, let's add that. Now, old Rivian here. Let's see what's up with old Rivian. Shares of Rivian gain 5.6% pre-bills secured a conditional commitment of loan. 6.6 billion from U.S. Energy Department boosted production capabilities. Damn, these guys are just getting loan after loan. I like it. The chart stinks. No getting around that. This is another one of these things that maybe right around this time of year could be a spot to do this. Let's add that. It's the second piece of news it's had in a few days. It just had announcement with Volkswagen too a couple days ago. Look at this bad boy. Analog devices, fiscal adjusted earnings, revenues fall. Got a nice sweet spot on this one. Woo! This could work. You know, you got yourself a spot here at 240 and some change that if you can clear out the zone of love, you're going to have maybe a little bit of upside on this. Not that many earnings plays left, right? There's just a handful left. You know, this may get some action. Now, it's a little bit of a thicker name. It's got 500 million shares in float. It's still doable, though. Let's add it for now. S is popping up 5% in the pre-market. Anybody see the news on this bad boy? I didn't see any. Let me see what's up. Yeah, the reason I like this one is if you start looking at this bad boy on a little bit longer term basis, let's take a look at a weekly chart here. This has got a huge sweet spot on it. Look at that. I think the spot is around $30. So we're at 29. So it's used up a little bit of range today, right? But if we can come out of this range, I mean, you don't have really any resistance until maybe this pocket over here. Man, we don't even know where the resistance would be. It's got such a big base. This base is going from 2022. So you got 2 years on this thing. That's pretty good. That's top of the list if we can get an entry. The issue on this will be, how much of the ATR is used up. What the fuck? All right. Man, that's nice. Let's see what the exact spot is. Let me go to an hourly chart here real quick. Just get us a little bit of a level. I'm into it. Add it. Let's see if it sets up here. It may even, if you get a really, really good entry on this, it may need a day to tighten. And you don't always get them. But this might even be, if this thing breaks, it might even be a little bit of a swing trade. You could, it's one of those, you ever see, and it's been happening a lot in this market where it's like you see this epic setup and you're like kind of trying to day trade it back and forth and just can't get your finger on it. And then you look and it's up, 50%, 80% after, a handful of, after a week or so. And you're like, fuck, right? And sometimes that'll happen where like the intraday fluctuations where, you're up or down, 1% here, 1% there, it shakes you out of some of these good ones. I was saying I had the same thing. I had something similar happen to me, right, with this Affirm. I'd been fighting with this $50 level for days, right? Fighting over this $50 level for days. And this is a weekly chart. And while I'm trying to day trade this thing and fighting with this level, all of a sudden, before you know it, right, it's just off to the races. And yeah, if you look a little bit closely, it's like it tried to break this particular day. And then it came and, shook everyone out, came right back down. And everybody's like, ah, shit, failed breakout. And then boom, right? It runs back and does that. And that's why, oftentimes in a market like this, the swing traders make the easiest money because everything just grinds up, and when you get the shakeout candles or the dips, they just rip back. And so you want to have some mixture of day trading with swing trading in this specific market. Now, if you had a sideways market, like a distribution market or even, like a rundown market, then really, swing trading is not really worth anything. You end up losing all your money from, the big run up phases. So keep that in mind. I like the overall look of it. It's got a good spot on it. So we'll come back. Now, let's take a look on the downside. Burrow, I just don't see the play on it because it doesn't really have a gap up or down. So I'm not sure what the play would be. Now let's take a look and see if we got any stacks with some 30 McGee's. Like, see this KSS? Like, this is a stock, right, that's got earnings out, but you're clearing out all the levels. And so, like, okay, this stock is a short, right? This stock is a short, you're breaking down. Whereas that Burl was like it's a tweener. Looks, man, you can add that. Like, you wanna do a little orb life on something. It's a retail stock, so not really the sexiest to trade, but you got yourself a little something, something. Now you can see here, right? Look at Amjam, dude. Look at this bad boy. What's going? You never see this thing move 11%. Let me see what's up. Damn. Robust weight loss with mirror. 10 people in the 52 weeks. There's some news about Amgen or someone who knows how FDA works on new drugs. This Amgen drug is not competitive with Lilly. You must understand that the incumbent is a huge edge. Gotcha. So they announced a fat loss pill too, but I guess it's a dud. Dude, this is going to be in play today, right? So you got news out. You're already in a little bit of a downtrend here. Like, if you want to day trade, this stock's going to have some range on this. I'm adding this to the watch list. Yeah, I think so. Let's take a look here. These crypto names are all going to pull back a little bit today. And how long they pull back, you can see these are all Bitcoin names, right? They're all Ethereum or Bitcoin names. Well, why? They've got themselves a little bit of an extension here, right? So, like, if you're $25 as the Bitcoin ETF, you go to 60, you're going to need more than a day or two to pull back. So all of these have probably a little bit of juice. So if you look at IBIT here, right, this was the ETF for Bitcoin. So this is the 77,000 break on Bitcoin. You get up to 100, right? And so now you got to kind of pull back, and it's going to need some time. I believe Bitcoin's at 92,000. So it's pull back 8,000 points, but it's probably going to need a little bit more. I think so in general, guys, 3 days, 4 days of pullback is the ideal spot. You get a nice 3-4 day pullback on these, and it's an orderly pullback. I mean, you really set yourself up. So let this kind of grind down. Let it grind down for a few days, and that'll set up a little bit of a bounce. So while Bitcoin is pulling back, you're starting to see, right, the weakness in coin. You're down 5% on this thing. You're starting to see the weakness in MSTR. You're coming back into really kind of some of the previous levels of breakout, right? That 350, 400. Mara's down 5%, right? HUT's down. So you got a little bit of weakness in this thing. So the question becomes, when does the dip get bought on them, right? And so in general, you had 28, 29. So a little bit more pull, I think, probably sets up some of these things, but you need a little bit more, right? Like, this core has also been basing out. So you got kind of 2 red days if today's stick. Get a third one, get a fourth one. That'll kind of work off the overbought condition. Now you'll have yourself some entries. You don't want to go chasing these things up. You don't want to go chasing these things up without that. So keep an eye on Bitcoin. Now, look, if Bitcoin's pulling back and and on these miners, the dips get bought anyways, then obviously that's really bullish and something we'll have to kind of keep mind of as a clue in what's going on. We haven't seen that just yet, but we're getting there. Samurai, let me look here. So I think this is a leave alone for now. We'll see if it speeds up and we get into some different zones. Then I think maybe we can always try. But I think we're going to need a little bit more. I've got 89,487 is the 20 SMA on Bitcoin. That's probably a good spot to start looking at it. We're at 92,000, so we're in between some levels right now. Let it pull back a few more points. I think you got something pretty good. Hey, so this NNE, the private placement, is done with 24 and 26 warrants. So it looks like, they didn't dilute it like in a crazy manner. Let's see if this thing holds up here. Like, you never know. It was nasty yesterday. It was down, look at this, from 33 down 25, so 8 points. It's now down 20% plus. Now it's starting to hold up here. We'll see. It held into support. I mean, now that these warrants are in the private placements done, you never know. This dip may actually get bought up on this. We'll have to keep a look on this. I think personally, I'd like to see these things just base out a lot more. You don't always get that. But, if you look here, you're just so long in the tooth on this thing. You really need a little bit more. I guess Oklo's got a little bit better base. But, dude, there was even some hit pieces on this thing a couple days ago. It's fast and loose. So when the bases get loose, see how the base is like, this is not like a high, tight flag, right? This is a fast and loose base. Like the bottom of the base, the top base is 14, 15 points. That's fast and loose, right? So you got to be a little bit careful when you get a fast and loose base. You don't know necessarily how long it takes to tighten up the range on this. Good. Let's get into the kind of the regular watches. I got some names I think have a chance. All right, so let's go in. We got SMTC we were talking about. Hey, so this DXCM, all right? DXCM's got a big base breakout setting up here. We got a big base breakout setting up here. We get $78 and some change. We're into the gap over here, right? So you got $100. Man, you got a little $100 roll on this. That's nice. $100 roll on this. You know, if it can come into the gap, you got a lot of upside on this bad boy. It's been left for dead. It used to be $145, but before that, it was even a little bit higher. Let's see if it holds this zone here. Like you got, this is not too extended off its base. We got a chance. This pure cycle, we got a trend line right here. This is the season, right? This week is the time to do these kind of names. You may catch a bid on this one. It had a small uptick in volume. Small uptick in volume yesterday. It's been perking up for a couple days here. Let's see if we break this trend line. This is probably the right time for that. Hey, and we had a run in solars yesterday. I think, maybe for this week, maybe we get a little bit of a squeezer. This one and run, the volume's been upticking for a couple days. You're nuzzled right against the 20 SMA here. If you can remount over here, I think you're setting up for a little bit of a run. I would add both of those to the watch list. You can even do ENPH. They all have the same exact look. ENPH has a little bit more volume too. FSLR I thought was the messy one. But it is also right up against the 20 SMA. So you got yourself, right? Nova's picking up. Damn, this was $3 a couple days ago. So you're picking up some steam on these, and this is the right time, right place to do this. Damn. Yeah, let's add a couple of these solars. Beyond that, I'm really thinking Lyft. This was its earnings gap here, pulled back into the bone zone. Yesterday had a really, really powerful move. This one has broken out. It's not extended yet. I think probably this is right up our alley. We want to add this. We want to add this to the watch list, especially if it takes out 18. It's got a chance, right? And you have decent enough range on this yesterday. And this one is not too extended. We don't have to go in. We don't got to go in and do any of that. UPST, big trender yesterday, 74 to 81. You got a week open on this one. Dude, I think this one's a potential for red to green. And then let's see if it breaks out 80. Love the overall look on this. HIMS, I think, needs another couple days. HIMS is nice, but you can see here, the 50 SMA was a 19, so it's up 50%. Let it pull back a couple more days here, and I think that sets up. It is an IPO breakout. The stock is just weird. Like every time it looks hot, it tanks, and then it looks nasty, and it gets bought back up, and it's a little bit hard to corral. Randall, my man, what up, baby? What are you watching? Yeah, just a tad hard to corral. So it's at the top of the Bollinger Band. So it just needs a pull. You can see the 9 AM is at 26. You got to let it pull back a little bit. Once it does, you're going to be in for a good spot. But till then, got to leave it alone. No way, Jose. What's up, baby? DJT, I'd probably leave that one alone too. It's stuck inside a range. I don't really know what you would do with it. Is it a long? Is it a short? We'll put excess on the watch list. This you can add in. Whoever just said to Andre, this one's got a PR out. You're starting to fill some of this gap. You could add this. Not bad. Not bad at all. Yeah. All right, let's go back through this here. Just dig through order of importance. Let's go through, dig back through order of importance. Right? SMTC, especially we get a pull at the open. We got Rivian here. We got Dick's, Sporting Goods, 67 million. Man, only if it starts to clear out. It looks like the range is already pretty good. Look at this. It dipped down 226. I mean, you're going to have some good, and you're going to have some good range on that. You got ADI here. S. Man, S's earnings are next week. Otherwise, I would swing this thing. Amgen, I think, is going to be in play. It's a little bit of a thicker stock, but I think we'll still be in play. We got Kohl's here too. And then on the non-PR side, we got old DXCM. You got Pure Cycle. You got Dash coming out of its flag. I like the overall look on Lyft and UPST. For the red to green, it's already opening up at a good spot. Let's see if that gets bought up. I think there's like a lot of support in this this was the breakout spot yesterday. So there should be some decent amount of support in the zone over here. If we can kind of hold into there, then we can start looking at this thing. We can start looking at this thing for a potential bounce. I want to just repeat here that the market is extended like this. There's not like a surefire. You know, when you walk into the market, there are days where there's a couple gimmies out there where you're like, fuck, this is a grade A setup. There's none of those. All right, we got that. Now, look, Tesla took a dump out yesterday on that California EV tax credits. I don't know exactly what the play is. It may just bounce right off that. It could be a one-shot thing here. I'm not sure. Let's see if it holds the 9 here. That 360 would be a little bit more important. It got rug fast yesterday, too. Maybe it needs more time. CVNA could do it. After the push, it's starting to pull back. I wouldn't be opposed to it. Not bad. Good. UPST, SMTC. We got a couple here that are probably going to have to be the face. Keep an eye on some what you want to be doing too. What you want to be doing too today is like really look through I'd run a scan for momentum like probably 15, 20 minutes into the market and see what kind of random stocks are popping up. In Thanksgiving week, it'll just come out of nowhere. There'll be a couple stocks that weren't on anybody's list that just start to groove. And then everybody piles into those and you end up with a really nice trader. Just kind of like the Xena the Warrior yesterday. This wasn't really on the gapper list or anything, right? It just started to take out some levels and start picking up some steam and then some more steam and some more steam and some more steam and some more steam. And then you're in for it.